Guys, before we get into the episode, we are literally so close to the milestone of 10,000 subscribers. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do right now. Pause it, subscribe. It doesn't take long. And whilst you're down there, you may as well like the video as well. But yeah, close to 10,000. How are you feeling? Literally a month since we started this.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. You know, we are very new to the game and the support has been absolutely incredible. We are on the verge of hitting 10,000. And yeah, I can't wait to obviously bring you guys more content.
Big announcement at 10K, of course. But let's just dive straight into it, Dom. Angela Rayner, let's get her started. Of course, literally 2 days ago, before Prime Minister's questions, we seen the interview of her greeting and essentially coming out and saying that she didn't pay tax. Of course, the Tories were quick onto her. Everyone was onto her very quickly and stated that, of course, she should be resigning from her position. And then we've seen some more developments come out over the last couple of days. But it's interesting. On Wednesday, Keir Starmer actually came out and sort of publicly supported her and said, you know, she's still my deputy prime minister. However, if you're looking at the headlines this morning, after the latest developments with her lies yet again, it looks like Keir is bracing to sack Angela Rayner.
It's wild. So we are literally looking at the Secretary of State of Housing, avoiding housing tax, avoiding stamp duty tax. I think it's absolutely criminal how you can be the head of enforcing this tax on people yet avoid it yourself.
Yeah, and actually, funnily enough, Dom, she literally made a post back in 2018 talking about another MP literally doing the exact same thing as she did and literally calling for his head and saying that he must resign imminently. She also had this one as well, where these videos came out of her, like this is a while back, talking about her tax affairs that, as you can see, 2023.
Every pound of tax that's not delivered to the Chancellor and to the Exchequer means that it damages our public services, and we know the state they're in. So the former Chancellor, when he was Chancellor last summer, made it clear at the time when he was questioned that he pays all his taxes and that he's done everything appropriately, and was threatening legal letters to anyone that questioned him. Now it emerged actually that that's not true, and that there was a HMRC investigation and that he's had to pay penalties for that. I think that makes his position untenable.
Well, she said it herself. That makes his position untenable. Dom, is her position untenable?
I think she's absolutely correct. And I think if you apply her own logic to her own situation, I think she should resign with immediate effect. And I feel like the backlash, if she doesn't resign, is going to be far greater than if she does.
Well, this was the post that was also saying, as you can see, 2018. Literally the same thing as she's done here. Jeremy Hunt avoids £100,000 stamp duty by exploiting Tory tax loopholes and buying flats in bulk. Health Secretary already faces a parliamentary sleaze probe into his purchase of the flat in Ocean Village from a donor who gave his constituency over £50,000. So that was in 2018, and as it always there. Think before you post, the government have always said. And of course, there's always a tweet. When people do something in the public eye, there's always a tweet. And she is a huge hypocrite. She's literally, you know, if this was actually a Tory, they would have been all on this. They would have been ham on them, and rightfully so. But when it comes to her, she's sort of trying to save face. However, she blamed, classic gaslighting tactic, she blamed her lawyers, Dom. She blamed that her lawyers, that they gave her the advice. But have the lawyers have thrown the grenade back, have they not, Dom? Tell me.
They have indeed, you know. So managing director Joanne Verico told The Telegraph it acted for MS Rayner when she purchased a flat in Hove. We did not and have never given tax or trust advice. It's something we always refer our clients to an accountant or tax expert for. The stamp duty for the Hove flat was calculated using HMRC's own online calculator based on figures and the information provided by Mrs. Rayner. So she's clearly trying to sort of scapegoat her lawyers and pass the blame onto them.
And they're not having it.
And they are categorically saying, no, you're lying. I mean, getting caught not only lying about tax, but lying about the reason why she did the tax. It's literally double kill.
She's a compulsive liar. Well, Keir Starmer has now admitted this morning that he's prepared to sack Angela Rayner if a standards investigation finds she broke the ministerial code over an underpayment of property taxes on her flat. On Thursday, Keir accepted the decision falls on him and to axe Miss Rayner if the ethics probe rules she breached the ministerial code. Of course, we've seen the Chancellor Rachel Reeves come out in support of her, and Keir Starmer did initially come out and support her. However, he is prepared to sack her if, of course, the investigation comes back that she broke the ministerial code, which is very much likely that she did.
It's true, and she does have a track record of doing pretty shady stuff. I mean, so before she was a Labour councillor, she was under investigation for sort of fraudulent business expenses, and she resigned before the investigation concluded. This is before she's an MP, so
this was in her workplace.
This is in her workplace. Yeah, I believe it was for a bank. I'm not sure what bank.
They were like approving each other's work expenses.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was her manager, obviously Rayner, and one of her colleagues as well, were all approving each other's business expenses. This was in the sort of 2008 crisis as well, so expenses had to be clamped down, yet they were using it for fraudulent things, taxis, dinners, etc. Putting someone like that with a proven track record of sort of fraud and mismanagement of funds as the Deputy Prime Minister and obviously the Secretary of State of Housing, I don't think it was really going to end well.
Yeah, no, it's massive hypocrite. Did you see Rachel Reeves was taken hostage this week as well? She was forced to defend Angela Rayner. Of course, she wasn't believing it. But listen to Rachel Reeves' hostage video here as she goes out there to protect the Deputy Prime Minister after her tax evasion.
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that, in contact with HMRC to make sure that the correct tax is paid. Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think we'll have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around Angela's disabled.
So yeah, Rachel Reeves obviously held at gunpoint there. Clearly say this. Make sure he said. She didn't even believe herself, did she? She wasn't convincing at all in that hostage video.
It sounds like my car. It's like trying to start my car on a cold sort of winter's morning there. It's insane. I feel like they're sort of towing the line, because if she does get removed, then they don't want to come out and sort of publicly support someone before they get removed, because then their position sort of, okay, it's a bit of a grey area. They're just saying it, they're not really sort of believing it. So I feel like they're all trying to toe the line a bit, waiting for the top man. But why do politicians always talk like this? Like, she sounds like Keir as well.
Yeah, it's a robotic tripe. It's the same sort of crap that you hear on a day-to-day basis. They all do it. You're right. They all do it.
It's weird. Like, you're right. It's this weird, like, sort of tonality. Yes, it's strange. Like, I don't get it. There's no real like personality behind there. They're all just like washed. They're all very bland. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days and maybe sort of next week. If you were a betting man, Dan, how would you think this goes?
Well, I would say as I said, this investigation is going to be happening, but I don't see how she can continue. I genuinely don't believe. I don't see a world in which she can continue. She literally came out publicly condemning other individuals for doing it, and now she's playing the violin about a disabled son. You've committed tax fraud, and you're the Deputy Prime Minister. Regardless if you have a disabled son, it doesn't mean that you can start fucking doing whatever you want. It comes back to the old saying. It's a rule for thee, but not me in politicians, and she certainly lives by that, because it's not the first time she's done shit like this.
Exactly. It's do as I say, not as I do. And the whole situation with her son was, is kind of interesting. Okay, so she successfully sued the NHS and got a massive payout for some sort of mistreatment of her son's condition.
Yeah.
She then used that money to buy a second house, or maybe it was a third house. And yeah, I think that's quite interesting, because was that money allocated to her son in
Yeah.
trust, or did she just take that money out and buy this house? I think it's quite interesting.
Well, that's the question, and we haven't got, I suppose, the answer for that. Yeah, I mean, did you see a house got graffitied, vandalized? You haven't seen this yet?
I've not seen this. Wow,
Me, Angela Rayner graffiti. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, here we go. So that was on the house in Brighton. Tax evader Rayner.
wow.
And then yeah, they like did that outside a gaff.
That
all over.
Well, I guess that's a pretty clear message, you know. Do as I say, not as I do.
I wanted to get Andrew Tate's post up, and of course, this is probably going to split opinion a little bit, but I like Tate. We're a fan of Tate on this podcast, aren't we, Dom?
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of miscue his message. I find it quite funny, to be fair.
I think for a man, I think it's a very good message. Work hard, all of these kind of things. It's a great balance.
Personal excellence,
yeah,
accountability.
But he said this about Angela Rayner. He said Angela Rayner is the exact type of incompetent, dishonest, scamming female every single man who's ever worked has encountered. Does zero work, but always works. But is always busy. Fucks up everything she touches and blames somebody else. Mean, ugly, arrogant, entitled, narcissistic, and stupid. Their common phenomenon, sucking off the boss to exist. Keir rarely accepts the blowjobs because even they're awful. The fact she's anywhere near power is terrifying.
I mean, it's clearly like satirical, right?
Yeah.
But it is sort of laid in truth there. Like she you know, what does, you know, she can't be avoiding taxes as the Secretary of State of Housing.
Yeah, but more to the point, she's thick as mince. You know, she has, there's a worrying thought that, you know, Keir's a nightmare as it is, but if anything happened to Keir, she's the Prime Minister, leader of the country.
Lord help us.
And yeah, she is thick as mince. Oh, honestly, I've never seen someone so, I can't believe she's a Deputy Prime Minister. And that's nothing to do with their background at all. You know, I'm from a similar background myself, or probably even worse off. But what I'm saying is that, you know, this doesn't mean it gives you a right just because of your, you know, sub-story backstory that, you know, that you should be the Prime Minister. She is thick as mince.
Exactly. The bar's pretty low. And let's be honest, if she didn't get caught, she wouldn't have wanted to pay this tax.
Oh, yeah. The only thing she is sorry about is getting caught.
Exactly. And now she's trying to rectify her mistakes and also just place the blame. You know what? I think it's quite low to place the blame of this situation and sort of outsource that onto your disabled child.
No, so is that, you know, the thing with narcissism and stuff like this, I always went down a massive rabbit hole of narcissism and things like this, but they constantly gaslight. So, you know, I mean, you may know people, go down the rabbit hole of narcissistic people, you know, but they always never can take accountability. It's just physically impossible for them to take accountability for their actions. It's always blaming other individuals. And you can see it there. I did it because of my disabled son. Oh, my lawyers told me to do it. Oh, like, and now she's getting her lies, tripping over the lies are getting pushed back. And she's not holding hands. She came up with a sob story saying, oh, it wasn't my fault. I'm coming clean though, but it was because of this. No, just fucking sit there and say, oh, I wanted to not pay as much tax. I thought I could probably get away with it because I'm in a decent position. And yeah, I did it because I didn't think I would get caught. And then I'd probably have a little bit more respect for you. I'd be like, yeah, you know what, fair one. You've taken accountability and actually told the truth about your actions. You probably shouldn't stay, but at least I can see that you can take some accountability and tell it how it is, rather than trying to fluff the actual story, put blame onto other people, and it just makes you look more weak. Go down big, you know.
Exactly. Go down with the shit. Fair play, you caught me. But the issue is here, she's trying to cover her lies with more lies, and you know that quickly gets unravelled in the sort of the scope of.
Well, she didn't think the lawyers were going to come out and go and say the same shit, did she? Really? She wasn't thinking that. But keeping into the Labour Party, do you want to take us and the viewers on the story with regard to the Peterborough Labour councillor who has resigned after branding rape victims, quote unquote, white trash.
Yeah, kind of shocking, really. So it was a leaked sort of WhatsApp message where he sort of branded the Rotherham child rape gang victims as poor white trash. Now, this is absolutely abhorrent. It's a attack on sort of working class people who have been who are victims of the mass sexual grooming scandal, and we're talking about very vulnerable people. He's talking about here. So in a leaked message, he was in a conversation with someone and they said, I care about safety and why should an immigrant put women's safety at risk? A very fair point. And he replied, oh, so white British cops fucking white trash in Rotherham is okay, is it? Get a fucking grip, Daisy. You're aiming for populist votes and attention. Forgive me, but you are bright enough to know what you are doing, and politically I wish you no luck at all, but you know what you are setting out to do. Now, what the council stated is an extraordinary full council meeting will be called as soon as reasonably possible to appoint a new council leader. So Councillor Jones does remain as councillor for now, but will serve as an independent. Obviously, this resignation is in response to comment made by Councillor Jones, which was shared on social media. Yeah, I think that's absolutely disgusting. So he's saying, okay, it's okay if these white British trash, bear in mind, young girls as young as 10, 11, 12 years old, it's okay that they're, being victims of grooming scandals because apparently they're also fucking white British cops, which I have personally never seen any reports of. So yeah, I think it's really disgusting, and I'm happy that he's obviously been made to resign here. We cannot have people in Parliament talking about this absolutely monstrosity. We're talking about the rape of Britain and practically victim blaming here.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not even just that as well, but like, obviously, I think, is this a conversation between someone else in the Labour Party?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, I think a lot of Labour MPs actually share his views. We've seen a lot of them, unscrupulous characters that kind of reside within the Labour Party. But also here again, he's trying to sort of gaslight. He hates right-wing politics more than, that he loves his own party. And he's like, forgive me, you are bright enough to know what you were doing, and politically I wish you no luck at all. You're aiming for the populist votes and attention. You're trying to get attention. No, she's trying to bring this scandal. She's actually one of the good people within inside that party, and actually trying to get it to public attention and actually trying to get justice for these individuals. And he's so blindsided by his own views and hating the right that he's like, you're aiming for populist votes and attention. You're a disgrace. Like, it's disgusting. It really is.
This is how far this left ideology has gone, is that if you even attempt to bring justice to the victims of this horrific scandal, you are labeled this far right
twerking for attention, twerking for votes.
Exactly, yeah.
He was doing the right thing morally, and for so long they never got the moral justice that they deserved,
No, and they were only forced to through an independent investigation. Categorically, at every single stage, they have voted down the independent investigation, or the investigation into the grooming gangs. Was it Baron Casey? So that they basically started the investigation to the recommendation of Baron Casey. And still to this day, we have not seen anything from that investigation. No. Even though they have started it, we have seen more from Rupert Lowe's private investigation, which was privately funded, than we have the government investigation. And the Rupert Lowe thing is crazy because he's indicted or incriminated, hundreds of independent councils who were responsible for covering this up. That's the type of investigation we want to see. And it's really interesting when you ask a government to investigate itself, how willing are they to incriminate themselves? And the answer is probably not a lot.
No, why would they? Why would turkeys vote for Christmas, as the old saying goes? Like, they kind of like to look like anything that Labour do. They like to try and show people that they're doing something, but when it actually comes to practical action, they don't do it. They like to talk. You know, you can look at it from a business sense as well. People that talk a lot never really take action that much. You know, talking's one thing, but taking action is the other thing. And yeah, you may know a talker, and the Labour Party are just talkers. They don't do anything in terms of implementing action, which means that they're never ever going to get anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. They're always trying to sort of protect their image rather than actually make a difference. Again, you know, we talked about it a lot, but the sort of propaganda that Keir's putting out as well in terms of the deportations, it's all a big sham. I just find it funny how, you know, 20 years ago, Labour would never be saying anything like this. I mean, we didn't even see this in the Conservative sort of 14-year reign, this whole push for mass immigration and mass deportation. And this is how far the sort of public image has swung in our favour, that all of the politicians have to be talking about this because it's such a focal point on British politics right now.
Agreed. Another thing that's a big focal point on British politics right now, I suppose, is of course the migrant hotels. And we got the revelation yesterday that, I mean, I'm not reading that Sky News headline. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a GB News one. But let's just go on to how the mainstream media actually address it. Man whose arrest sparked Epping hotel protest found guilty of sexual assault of 14-year-old girl. Why is that the headline? It should be illegal migrant found guilty of sexual assault.
Yeah.
Of 14-year-old
They
girl.
have to bring the protest.
Man whose arrest sparked the protest. No, he was the illegal migrant residing at the Bell Hotel, guilty for sexual assault on a 14-year-old girl. That's how it should be, and I think GB News would have done that the right way. But that's just how the MSM sort of play it with their headlines.
Do you think in this article they used the word, asylum seekers? Okay, but do you think they used the word illegal at all?
No, they'll use a regular probably. Let's have a look. Let's have a little betting game. As stated, the way they said it, a man whose arrest sparked a series of protests outside an Essex hotel housing asylum seekers has been found guilty of sexual assault. The Bell Hotel in Epping became the focal point of demonstrators after Hadush Jebralassi Kabatu was arrested and later charged on the 13th of July with sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl. The Ethiopian national Kabatu was alleged to have attempted to kiss the teenager, put his hand on her thigh and brushed her hair in July after she offered him pizza. Yeah, we know the story as such, but as stated, the individual on Thursday was found guilty of all charges. District Judge Christopher Williams took just 30 minutes to return the verdicts and his reasonings. The 3-day trial heard that Kabatu has also told two teenagers he wanted to have a baby with each of them, but Kabatu had previously told the trial he was not a wild animal. You are Kabatu. Mr. Williams said he was not persuaded there was any evidence to suggest the children fabricated any of the evidence they gave, and the defendant, wearing a grey tracksuit and sitting with the translator, gave no visible reaction as Mr. Williams told him he was guilty. Kabatu is due to be sentenced at the same court on the 23rd of September. Great that he's guilty, but we've got a guy who's been in the country for 8 days now, of course, in our prison system.
More costs, more inflating the deficit.
Yeah.
You know, more strain on our taxes and our systems, our sort of public systems here. Why not just deport him?
Well, I mean, then you would be letting him free. I don't mind, actually. Well, he shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. Should have been detained and deported anyway, so we have to sort out that part of the system. However, he has committed a crime, right? Is he actually going to be dealt with in Ethiopia? Well, if he wasn't, if we had good relationship with Ethiopia, which we clearly don't because they keep coming over to our country illegally, then if we sent him back, then he'd walk free and then there would be no thing. So I don't mind putting him into prison, but as soon as he's out, he's out. He's deported, he's gone. That must be the case. Although my only, my reservation with this is I feel that there's a lot of time while they're in prison. They're getting access to some lawyers and they're going, right, how can we get him to stay in the country? Oh, well, he's gay now. You know, he can't go back to his country because he's gay. So he has to stay here now. So, a nonce who's guilty of sexual assault on a 14-year-old girl is then allowed to stay in the country because, I mean, we've heard some outlandish stuff. One was because his son didn't like chicken nuggets, or like chicken nuggets, he can get chicken nuggets in Pakistan.
Yeah.
We've seen some other crazy outlandish ones as well. So what the problem with him going to prison is, which is a good thing, and he's been guilty, is that they've got a little bit of time here with these woke lawyers to kind of conjure up something to give him a way of staying in the country following his prison sentence.
I even heard one story about a man who was an alcoholic that couldn't be deported back to Pakistan because they don't sell alcohol there.
There you go. It's an easy way to try and stay. So you're going to be keeping the literal shit who's just served his fucking sentence,
Yeah.
been in the country for 8 days, and all of a sudden he can stay because he's just saying he's an alcoholic.
Exactly. And I think it's pretty common sense laws that, okay, if you commit any crime while trying to seek asylum, then your asylum claim is completely null and void. If this man actually does end up succeeding with his asylum claim and being able to stay in the country, that's worst case scenario. I think best case scenario is he leaves the country regardless of what time well, not best case, but, I think the better case is he leaves the country regardless. But if he's able to jail and, as you said, has time to do lawyers and sort of work on his asylum claim and ends up succeeding in the asylum claim, I think that's worst case for the UK. I'd rather see him serve no time and be deported than serve time and stay.
Yeah, but then what's stopping him from coming back on the boat again and giving it another whirl?
It's a great point.
And get back in the hotel system
Yeah,
again.
it's a
And
great
same hotel, he's been released, he's back in the hotel. He said, I did the journey once, did it again. I've got a new name now. I'm no longer Kabatu. I'm someone else.
Yeah.
And then coming back in, and then all of a sudden he's in a new hotel, nonsense on other children again. So that's probably why it's there. He does need to serve a punishment. But the problem with the way that this is working is that they shouldn't have been in the hotels in the first place, nor should they be roaming around freely. That's the moral of the story, that if you come in this country illegally, you're detained, then deported, ship bust, no hotels, nothing. But you said you've got a little video for us with regard to an RAF base that's sparking a lot of outrage currently on social media.
That's correct,
I've got
yeah.
video up here as well, but do you just want to talk about it quickly whilst I find it?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we've got a lot of issues with hotels and HMOs, but the problem is a lot worse because, these RAF bases, these army bases, they're not in the public eye, naturally. They're very secluded. They're in sort of the countryside. The sinister thing here is they are being utilized, as this video will show, to house unvetted, undocumented, illegal invaders. And I think that's quite sinister because what's happening is not only are our, armies numbers decreasing, our RAF bases decreasing, the fleet of planes we have as well and fighter pilots are also depleting, but we're also filling these bases, these unused bases up with these foreign invaders.
Now, to play devil's advocate, and we're going to watch the old video, like a little devil's advocate area. Are they not better in a secure, unused military establishment than out on the streets and the hotels? Like, can they come and go from this place? Like, I don't mind the idea of when you're detaining and then obviously deporting these illegals. We have got, unfortunately, our military is getting smaller and smaller. We do have unused military bases. They're barbed wired, they're secure. If there's a situation where these individuals are being housed in there whilst they're waiting to get deported, then that's actually okay. They can't leave the residence. The thing about military camps, I don't know if you've been in them. Have you?
I did do a cadets trip once in my life when I was 13.
Well, it's like a small town inside there, right? When we're in the military, you're going to get your own shops and stuff like that. I mean, if it's disused, it probably won't have their own shops and whatnot. But if it was secure and they had to stay in there, they're confined, they can only stay in here whilst they're waiting to be deported. I don't see the problem with it, but that's obviously not the case. That's just being used as accommodation. They're probably allowed to come and go as they please, go out into Wethersfield, the local area, and live a normal life. But I'm not opposed to them staying in unused military places just temporarily until they wait for their deportation, and they can't leave. They have to stay in the confines of the grounds.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Obviously, the issue is the reality of the situation is that both are being used: houses, HMOs,
Exactly.
hotels, and military bases. So I think the issue here is that the problem is a lot bigger than we think, because we only see half of the picture with the HMOs and hotels, which are obviously public-facing buildings. We have a lot of military bases in the UK, massive military bases. The scope and scale of it could be way bigger than we think in terms of the amount of people that are being housed here. I agree with you that if it's done right and they are genuinely unused, and they're also and they're not allowed to leave the premise as well, okay, go for it. But the problem is here that we're not only reducing our, protection of the country, but we're also completely doing the opposite, and we're increasing the risk in bringing these people here. A lot of these people will obviously have their asylum claims accepted. As said by the Labour, they want to sort of reform the asylum system, which basically means they want to accept a lot more asylum people and get through a lot of the claims quicker. Is it just a ground? And also what you have to understand is that these hotels might just be a ground for radicalization between the asylum seekers. They're obviously all going to lie about their claims, but the actual reason they might be here could be a lot more sinister. They could be, cooperating together, using sort of Islamic fundamentalism in order to sort of plan terrorist attacks. We don't know this. So having our military bases used for the exact opposite as breeding grounds for terrorism, or allegedly terrorism, it's completely, a swing on the idea of the military base in the first place.
Yeah. Again, the MOD though have been downsizing for a long time. I don't think it's like one or the other. It's not like, oh, we've kicked the troops out. They're like, the MOD have been selling off land for years and years and years. Like, it's always been the case. Our military is a lot bigger, I think 20, 30, 40 years ago. If you just go all the way back in time, I think the figures are always regressing in terms of size as year on year in, year out. And that's a conversation for another day. However, they do, of course, sell a lot of land, whether that's to knock the camp down and then build housing in that area. They have been doing that for quite a while. So they're probably, the government control the MOD essentially as well. So we're just like, right, we'll use this. We'll pay the MOD for that land, and then we'll use it for that. So
Yeah.
But do you want to have a look at this
Let's
video
have a look
anyway?
and then we'll crack on.
So yeah, I'm going to get the drone up and
Take off. Home point updated.
got all these blokes. Here's the blocks, guys. So these accommodation blocks are actually already full up. You see them sitting outside smoking? These are former military blocks that the RAF or anyone else in the military will be using, or they were stationed here. And they've actually ran out of blocks, so they're using... oh look, we've got more accommodation here. Look at these blocks. They boarded up? What do you think? Look at all the housing. Some of these windows look boarded. They may not be using these, but they could potentially refurb them and use them. Let's go and see the pods now. That's what we're interested in. You can see the minibuses here, look. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I can see about 14 minibuses on the airfield. Don't forget, there will be at least 10 ferrying them around in the surrounding areas like Chelmsford, Colchester and Braintree. So look, this is what our signal is going a bit funny just as I get near the pods as well. Here we go. These are the prefab accommodation. So as you can see here, look, they are actually living in these module homes already. Just on their way to get some lunch now. This is where they're all hanging around outside, guys, so this has got to be the cookhouse. All on their new phones. It looks like even the grounds worker, the grass cutter, is going in for his lunch. I wonder if we could get in and have some free lunch.
Can you hear the music in the distance?
Yeah. 1,200, over 1,200 illegal immigrants
So yeah, I mean, I think the worrying thing there regards to that situation, mate, is that the sheer volume on how many people are actually staying and residing in the country. There's just a problem that just keeps on escalating. And more to the point, but when their claims are processed, you're seeing them all men there, right? But when their asylums are processed, you're then going to have the additional family members that are going to be added onto those. So each of those, they're the ones that have almost been like a reconnaissance brigade. They've been sent over to do the journey. Once they're in, once they've got the house, it's come on family, come on immediate family, grandpa, the dog's girlfriend, all these kind of things coming through. And then all of a sudden, every one of those then turns into about 20, 25 other people. And that's also where you're starting to see the issue. And you don't even know who those 24 other people are.
No.
The bloke there from Afghanistan, his cousin could be a part of the Mujahideen, and he's just jumped over there and come in. So yeah, I mean, it's a freaking scary time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen videos of the people within the Epping Hotel post on their TikTok feed. And, 12 months ago, they were playing with MP5s and pistols in Pakistan.
Yeah, no.
I've seen videos like that. We don't know these guys' history. But you know what? I think this is the issue I have specifically with military races, is that what we're seeing is a disconnect between the younger generation and the sort of national pride that we have with the UK. Like, one of the reasons you would sign up to the military, and you might offer some valuable insight in this since you did sign up to the military, is that you have a sense of national pride, you have a sense of, being British, and you want to go and serve your country and protect it. Okay? So what we're seeing is that national pride rate drop with the younger generation, which explains why there's so many of these unused military bases. But what we're doing, rather than just knocking them down and making sort of affordable housing, is that we're replacing them with these, illegal immigrants, which then, because the illegal immigrants are there, that's going to make people have less pride in their country, which again reduces the rate of, conscription and, voluntary signing up for military. And which also leads to then, it's like a negative feedback loop that's just going to spiral down and down until we have no military and all the bases are used for illegal immigrants. So I do see that that sort of it's just very sinister. I just don't like the fact that we're using things that should defend us, defend the country, and we're putting people here who are a direct threat to the country.
Well, there is a recruitment crisis in the military right now anyway. They always made cuts for a very, very long time. They made a lot of people redundant when I was in at the time. And then obviously that sort of backfired because the retention rates were absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
But you can always tell when the military are recruiting because their ad campaigns just go ham, They're always popping up. And at this period, I'm starting to see a shit ton of like recruitment propaganda coming up as well. So, yeah, I think they are struggling. But when an individual signs up to the military, if they don't have any faith in the government, right, they might be proud of their country, but you've got a lunatic like Keir Starmer. That's who essentially is going to be giving the sort of final orders on where you're going to be going, what you're going to be fighting for, etc. You can see why people would not feel infused to actually go and serve in the military. And if we ever come into any problems, that's when all of a sudden, with these socialist regimes, it'll be forced to fight for him rather than sort of voluntary service that we've currently got now at this time. So yeah, there is like a bit of a crisis, I suppose, for the military and recruiting, but can you blame the younger generation? And
of course, I mean, from my perspective, I was born in the year 2000. Sorry if that makes any of you feel a bit old.
Makes me feel old.
From like the age of like 16 onwards, we in the media, we just hammered, like white men were vilified in the media. And we had this massive swing of sort of DEI practice and reparations and all this stuff. And we were just made out to be the scapegoats of society, that all bad things happen from, white men or white men's history.
Yeah.
And how can you fight for a country that pushes that sort of woke, transhumanist agenda? It completely baffles me. So now, obviously, in terms of the actual military prescription, you've also had DEI practices within the RAF. Now, Tim Davies, who's known as Fast Jet Performance on X, he did a massive piece when this sort of scandal came out. that there was a massive push to get, underqualified people of ethnic minority backgrounds into the RAF. Bear in mind, we are talking about piloting the most expensive jets in the world, the most complicated jets, the F-16s and the F-22s. Like, they're wanting to lower the threshold so that more DI hires can get into them roles. Like, we were talking about this the other day with the SAS, how they wanted to do something similar so we could have women in the SAS. How are you going to reduce the quality of the unit and reduce, the thresholds to get in when this is meant to be our elite fighting force? It sort of bewilders me.
Yeah, well, no, we've seen it. Yeah, but as you can see, I've just asked ChatGPT. This is a relative. You said trying to get women into the SAS. Yes, women can now join the SAS, but this is relatively recently changed. For decades, UK Special Forces and other Special Forces units were only open to men because all ground close combat roles in the British Army were restricted. So this is this is when we started to see. I always think of the peak of the mountain when it came to sort of woke, and DEI was 2020, right?
Yeah.
So we're starting to see that change. I obviously served in the infantry at the time, and that was all men. So there was never. But like now, I've still got like friends or like, let's say, acquaintances that are still in the military now, and you're actually starting to see some girls actually get into the infantry. And again, nothing against you women out there, but it comes down to, I think, when you're trying with women in the infantry, that's a conversation for another day. But women in the SAS, I mean, if a woman actually passes the male's requirements, right? Because girls in the military, right? The girls and the guys have different PFA times, which is like a mile and a half. They have different fitness requirements for their annual fitness requirements, different to the men. So if you're making it a woman's timing on a run and a man's timing on a run for the SAS, then that's problematic. It really is. But I'm also looking at over that sort of recruiting campaign. Did you see those ads that the army at the time was saying, snowflakes wanted? We want your compassionate side to join the military. They also had this bit where they had a group of like Muslim guys stopping in the battle, right? It was like almost like a thing. And he's praying like alhamdulillah and all this sorts of stuff in the middle of the ground. So they're trying to appeal to these audiences and saying this is what you can do. But the military is meant to be strong, fierce, feared. It shouldn't be a situation where any DEI is involved at all. And the SAS entirely, we spoke about the SAS, and I spoke to you about my own personal experiences with the SAS. I wasn't in the SAS, by the way, but just to put it out there. But some certain things where we've been working with them. I told you that they are the best. You have nothing to worry about. They are genuinely the best at what they do. But when you start putting these requirements lower, then all of a sudden, your pinnacle of your military, SAS, best in the world, better than the Navy SEALs, better than all the other things, the best in the world. And that's from other military saying that. But the minute you start lowering those standards, lowering those requirements, trying to meet DEIs and all of these kind of things, then you're in a massive problematic situation if something ever kicks off.
You're right, because for me personally, it's black or white. You're either good enough or you're not good enough. Now, with the SES, I've just had a look. No women have yet to pass the SES or SBS qualifications, so it doesn't look like they've actually reduced it.
Yeah,
but even the talks of reducing it is I think it's again treasonous. Like, you're wanting our elite fighting force to be weak. Now, in terms of that sort of SEX experience, I don't know if you can go into detail regarding that, but what was your type of sort of experience as an infantry with the SAS?
Well, so in the infantry ourselves, right? Look, listen. In infantry, you kind of get given sort of ordeals where you will go away for a week to play enemy for them or something like that. So again, I'm kind of can't say everything because it's obviously, like we worked there, you have to, a bit of disclosure.
Yeah.
But obviously went to Hereford and we seen them do their sort of practices and sort of raiding and all of that sorts of stuff. I can't go into full detail of exactly what they do, but they are top. And bearing in mind, everybody that was there playing enemy for them were infantry soldiers. And let's put it this way, they were A-class from infantry soldiers. The SAS are at the pinnacle of it. But yeah, I mean, looking at how they operate in Hereford, inside doing these things is absolutely wild. But as I said, can't or disclose everything that's going on.
Of course. Yeah. And again, you'd rather them be on your team than
And
obviously
yeah,
opposed to them.
That's
right?
exactly a great point there with regard to them. But more to the other point here, we're kind of going on a tangent here in the military as well. But one of the reasons actually, as to why women weren't allowed in the infantry originally, was because relationships can materialize. Men and women, wherever you put them into a situation, relationships can materialize. And something biological in us men have to always protect women. It's just there, right? So when you're in a situation where shit hits the fan and you're having, bullets flying over, some people just men have this thing. We need to protect the woman. We need to do this. We need to do this. Their reactions are a lot different in that sort of situation. But along with the relationships, if there's a conflict of interest there of a man and a woman, of course, getting together, being in a relationship, then all of a sudden the mission or the relationship goes ahead of the mission, which is also a massive issue. And that's probably one of the reasons as to why it was just men in the infantry in those sort of frontline roles. When you're actually face to face, bayoneting each other at the battle on the front line, that's the reason as to why that was the case for so many years, hundreds and hundreds of years. But the feminists see it more as oh no, you're just saying women are weak. But there is actually realistic background as to why that was a thing that's always been there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense to you, does it?
100%. Yeah. We're not saying like women can't do it, because I'm sure that there are some women that can do it and also will be good at the job. But there's a couple of things here. There's obviously, you're right, the social ramifications of that sort of their presence in a group that's full of men.
Yeah.
Are they going to be talking like to develop relationships with the men, and how does that affect the sort of cohesion of the unit as well? Because remember, it's the unit above everything, and if anything comes into that unit that could affect the relationships and the dynamics within that unit, especially like sexual relations as well, that jeopardizes the sort of the whole
Self-focus,
unit.
yeah.
Exactly. It jeopardizes the mission, but as well, like, why do you want to do it? Like, conscription is historically been 100% men, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any feminists like pushing for mass conscription of women. Like, that's not something that you should be conscripting for. Like, we go out to fight, and I will say this to the day I die: if an enemy invades Britain, I will be the first to dig my boots into the ground and fight and defend our sort of heritage and our ancestral right to our land. But I'm not going out and fighting foreign wars.
Yeah.
That's a fact. But even still, like, why would you want to go out and fight the wars? Like, if you had to pick between, raising kids and, keeping the family in sort of synergy, making sure the family life exists and the kids are raised, or going to a foreign land and dying for your country, like, which obviously women should pick the family option. That's not insane to say. And again, I'm not saying women can't fight. I'm saying, why would you want to fight? That's why I believe that men and women can never be equal.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you give them the equality in every single aspect, the conscription will never change. The conscription will only be men.
Or at least they'll talk and say, yeah, conscription should be the same. But when the shit hits the fan and actually comes, they'll be like, no, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be doing that. And rightfully so, that they shouldn't. But I want to keep it away from just women as well. But, sort of weak requirements. We've seen a lot of these DEI hires within the police force. You're seeing little munchkins. You're seeing people unfit, fat. Everything. I seen a military parade on this LGBT thing, right? And I did a video on it a few months ago, right? It was LGBT month, and they got the military involved in this ideological parade. And you should have seen the state of some of these individuals in terms of their bodies, barrels, fat. They spending too long in the cookhouse rather than exercising. And you're actually going, oh, this is the state of some of the people that are in the military right now, which is also an issue. But going back to being snowflakes, I've still got guys that are in there. I know them, right? And after 2020, 2021, now do you know recruits, they now have iPads where they acknowledge their day to see how they're feeling. Their feeling of, I'm feeling a bit under the weather and all these kind of things. I didn't like the way that this guy spoke to me. Part of the military is breaking you down, especially the training initially. When I first joined, you have 6 weeks of basic, right? So you're in there, you move in, you get your head shaved, everyone is the equal, and you literally see no phone, no technology for 6 weeks. You're literally it's like almost a shock of capture, and they are strict. And throughout the whole of the basic training, they're strict. They don't have you as an equal. They look down on you. You're spoken to like shit. You were spoken to in a way. And then you have to earn their respect. Obviously, pass the training before then, of course, becoming a soldier, passing out. And then it's all, you know what, you've made the cut, you're this sort of thing. But now in this training period, then allowing these recruits to actually document how they're feeling. I mean, is there going to be a moment where, you're fighting a foreign land and they're going, oh, stop, Davy, head is not in the right place right now. Can you stop firing at him because he's not feeling up to it? Oh, right, yeah, for God's sake, we have that as well in our military. Imagine the likes of foreign lands looking at the way the military being operated in the British military, just laughing. They're meant to instill fear that the last line of combat, you got to flex these muscles and go, you know what, you fuck with us, like America do, by the way. And Trump did good. He kicked all the trans out. He said, this isn't a circus. This is the military. This is our last line of defense. This is our muscles that we got to flex. Our muscles we're sort of flexing is going, showing all these things that people with mental health crises and all these other things, and it's showing weakness. The military shouldn't have a chink in the armor where people will go, yeah, that doesn't intimidate us whatsoever. We could get a leg over them easy, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah. And I think that also rises like the morale of the enemy. Yeah. And they see weakness in our army. Okay, when they're going up against us, like that's going to instill like motivation into them. Okay, guys, these guys are weak. Look, Jimmy over there's anxious.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit scared about dying. No, these guys will die like that.
By the way, just because I've been sort of here ravaging the British military, there's still a lot of great guys in the British military, strong men, and guys that would be willing to sort of, fight, lie down their lives for this country, and are great at what they do. I still do believe that the British military do have some of the best in the world, but I'm just saying some of these DEI hires and all this sort of woke that's infiltrated it is an infection
Feels
of
like
the military. So I don't want to be begrudging our young men, and any shout out to all the guys and women that, of course, serving right now. Big shout out to you. We're big supporters of you, and we'll advocate for your rights at all times here on this podcast. And you do a great job. This is not me diminishing people therein, so don't feel offended if you're serving in the military. I know you guys are great, but I'm just saying some of the loosening of requirements is problematic when it comes to military recruitment.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's important to distinguish the difference between the sort of military personnel and like the administration that like is in charge of all these hirings. Like it's important to separate them too. Again, the personnel, I agree with you, like SAS, SBS, even the American guys, they say we're the best in the world.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that to be the case. Yet the infection of like the woke mind virus in the administration, who they're the ones pushing for these drops in quality, these DEI highs. That's the issue here. It's like the bureaucracy of the military, not the actual personnel who are genuinely, passionate, patriotic, and putting their, life on the line for this country. That's the main difference here. We're going at the administration, right?
Yeah, the administration, and that's it. So yeah, there's a lot of great guys in that. We've been going on a tangent there with the military, and I love speaking about it. Actually, I do, because I'm sometimes quite passionate about the way that the forces have been treated. And I say it in every single live stream. Always remember, 6,000 homeless veterans in the UK. I'm going to keep on saying that every single time. Anytime I get a point, I'll keep on saying it. 6,000 homeless veterans on British streets right now, and we see the sorts of these military camps, unused military camps, hotels, housing illegal migrants. You see where the government's priorities are every single time, and this is where this space should be used for them, the 6,000 homeless. And I don't think any taxpayer would have a problem helping them out and getting their leg up in the world.
100%.
Dundee girl. What? Speaking about a warrior, she went viral. I just love this. Can we just watch that edit quickly one time? I love this edit. This one here, and then we're going to get into the update as 2 people have been charged.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace. You've come to fight as 3 men. 3 men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight? Fight and you may die. Run, you'll live at least a while. And dying in your beds, many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Right, you're not even Scottish, but are you willing to fight for William Wallace and Sophie from Dundee after that edit, man?
I will travel to Scotland today and dig my boots into the ground. Oh my
I love that, man. That's the true warriors back then, man. But yeah, Sophie, of course, look, it's another situation like the Manchester airports, it seems. And of course, a bit of Southport, where we're told a little bit of information. We're told by authorities, we're told that one girl, who was Sophie, I believe, that was charged with the possession of weapons. And then after that, they did investigations and said that there was no more arrests to be made, nor would there need to be more arrests to be made. Story finished. Stop spreading disinformation. Elon Musk, Tommy Robinson, James English, and Hamza Yusuf, of course, coming on and saying, the far right again doing what they do all the time. It's a white problem. It's a white problem. No, he didn't say that last bit, but we know what he's like. But there has been a revelation, Dom.
Yes.
A man and a woman have now been charged after further inquiries.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is the detail they've left out, I think. So it was interesting because when we spoke about this last, we kind of had two different sides of the propaganda that was taken out. I had an alleged quote from the mother who allegedly this brother and this sister, the people who were filming the video, the mother said that they assaulted the kids, but you had a slightly different twist to that, didn't you?
Well, I got the Daily Mail propaganda that was there. They did an exclusive interview with the alleged guy, you know, this Bulgarian resident who's not a migrant apparently, but yeah, a Bulgarian resident, and he gave an exclusive interview and said, well, why didn't the police not arrest me if nothing happened? And gave his sort of recollection and his own version of the story. And yeah, he was basically saying he was innocent and he's sad to see all these posts about him. But there has been inquiries into personal investigations into his sort of background and who he is. Bulgarian gypsy, sort of glorifies gangsters, all of these kind of things. But I just need to say, because we have the duty responsibility of doing this, so Police Scotland, I'm just doing my bit. They've just said a man and woman have been charged. They've not said that this man has been charged, the guy that was allegedly recording the incident. No one is saying that he has been charged, nor is someone saying his sister or wife or whatever it was the other one that's been charged. For all we know, it could be a man and woman completely, not them. So just at the time of recording, we have to say that stuff. But the police, why are they not revealing further information? Usually, and now I don't know if Scotland and England has different laws, but usually when someone has been charged, they go, Mr. Dominic Valance, 25, resides in the Greater Manchester area, has been charged with this, that, and the other. Now, I don't know if Scotland have different rules where they don't need to show it, but usually if you look at someone being charged, not arrested, charged, usually they dox their name, age, and sort of where they're from.
That's right. And I think because of the sort of publicity of this case, you know, they're not doing that. I think that's quite intentional. Now, again, this is the thing. We know it was a brother and sister who were the ones who were alleged to have, you know, assaulted these young kids. And we know it was a man and a woman who had been arrested. Now, I'm not going to do it, but you can kind of put two and two together. We're not saying that that's the case, but, you know, you best get, if I was a betting man, you know, I'd probably say that, that those were the people. But, you know, the fact that they've not released the names, for me, is it's sort of even more evidence that it might have been them. It allegedly could have been them. But you're right. I don't know a single, you know, thing where they haven't doxed the names. You know, if you're above 18, I'm pretty sure is that not the law to sort of let people know who has been charged and arrested?
Yeah, well, obviously, I feel like that's the case in England. Now, I'm not an expert in the law, but obviously Scotland and England are different countries, and they do have different laws to each other in certain things. So maybe that's something to do with Scottish law. Maybe if a Scottish viewer is watching, you can help us out. Is there any difference to it? Do they have to dox their kind of name or whatever? But I feel in England, that's kind of always the case.
Yeah, it's always the case.
They always say who it is, his age, if they're over 18.
Yeah.
And they usually, tell them where they sort of reside a little bit. Not the exact address, but like, for this instance, residing in Dundee, like, etc.,
Yeah. And what's interesting, okay, let's do a hypothetical here. Okay, let's hypothetically say that the two people who were alleged to have assaulted the young girls, those are the two people that have got arrested. Does that then change the charge of the young girl carrying them weapons?
I'm not too sure. I think that would still be an offence anyway, though, won't it? Because it's illegal to carry around bladed articles in the UK.
Yeah, which is crazy to me, because if these girls acted in self-defense, didn't actually use the weapons, just threatened them in order to stop the assault, then it is clear as day that you are not allowed to defend yourself in the UK, regardless of if you are assaulted or not, and also if you are a young, vulnerable girl or not. I think that's an abomination. I genuinely think that my view is that young vulnerable girls, girls in general, should have pepper spray on them in case anything happens. I know that's completely banned in the UK. You can be arrested if you do have pepper spray. So I'm not actually suggesting people go out and get pepper spray. So please don't do that. But what I'm saying is, my personal opinion is that that should be allowed as a self-defense measure.
Well, as I said, police Scotland have kind of got a bit of a gagging order. It's an ongoing investigation, and they use terms like, you could prejudice the investigation if you speculate about the investigation. So what you're saying is, on behalf of Point Blank, we're not saying that the individual that was recorded was the man that's been charged. We don't know that information yet. Look, by the time you're watching this, there may be some more information, but all we can really say is that a man and woman have been charged. That's all we can say, unfortunately.
Time will tell.
Time will tell, and I'll be looking forward to seeing the further updates on this. Keeping the Celtic fashion, I suppose, let's move over to the Republic of Ireland.
Ooh,
Conor McGregor.
Conor
McGregor, of course, coming out and sort of presenting his presidential campaign for Ireland. Of course, the UFC fighter. As a fighter, fan of Conor McGregor back in the day, you loved the UFC? Or were you like...
I think in terms of his sort of influence on UFC, even today, I feel like his influence is uncharted. But, what I will say about Conor is that I feel like the money did corrupt him a little bit. We did see him lose that aura about him, especially after the Proper 12, 100 million that he gained off that. But regardless, I still like the message, and we can read out his tweet here.
So, do you want to go for it?
Sure. So he says, "Citizens of Ireland, the time for a real change is now. As president, I will not sign any bill into law until it goes back to the people first. If you want to see my name on the ballot for the presidency, I urge you to contact your local county councillors today and ask them to nominate me. Our councillors are the backbone of our communities. They work harder and deliver more for the people than those in the, how do you say that word? Chats.
Yeah.
Who continue to fail this country time and time again. If you are a councillor who feels like your voice is ignored, your hands are tied, and your community overlooked, then I ask you to stand with me. Nominate me, and I will give you the platform and power to be truly heard. If you want to vote for McGregor, it starts now. Call your local councillor today and demand a change." So, what Conor is voting for, or what he's sort of petitioning for, is to get enough council votes in order to be on the ballot. Now, what he needs is support from at least 20 members of the Oireachtas, which is actually the word for the Ireland's parliament. So he needs 20 members to support him, and endorsement from at least 4 local authorities, that's city or county councils. So that's what he's petitioning for now.
Right.
He's petitioning for them 20. Now, how far is he down the line? We don't really know. So he's obviously eligible because he's above the age of 35. In terms of the nominations, we don't really know how many he's got. He may say he's got some. He might not. Obviously, that's the big push right now that he's going for. But yeah, what do you think about his sort of switch from a very public combat figure?
Look, listen, he looks like he's passionate about the subject. He's passionate about his country. He's a proud Irishman. He's been very vocal on the wrongdoings in Ireland, and I've been watching from afar about what's happening in Ireland, and they share the same struggles. It's fairly interesting that Britain and Ireland fought for so many years, hundreds of years, but the people of Ireland, the people of Britain, are sort of unanimous in this fight to stop their cultures being eroded and, of course, stop the mass invasion that is illegal immigration and mass migration eroding their culture. Irish culture as well it must be protected, and he's very passionate about it. And sometimes when you've got an influence such as Conor McGregor, maybe he doesn't have the influence as he did back in sort of late 2017-18, but he's got a voice. He's probably, when I think of Irish people, he's probably the most famous about. So at least he's using his platform to call things out. We spoke a lot about our celebrities. They're in the public eye that fray away from such criticism of government because they're scared for their paycheck to be taken away. So he's a guy that seems that he's uncorruptible and wants to make a change and is passionate about the Republic of Ireland. But I'm interested to see what he actually says in this video. Do you want to give it a watch? Yeah.
Good morning, citizens of Ireland. I'm here today outside the office of the Taoiseach an Taoiseach, where we are over 200 days into the formation of current government. In these times, this government has cost us our peace of mind, our security, our hope for the future, and the general well-being of Irish citizens nationwide has decreased dramatically, whereby we have seen the homelessness of Irish children risen to levels unprecedented, proving this government's refusal to abide by and respect our proclamation, and where all children of Ireland are to be cherished. Instead, our children abandoned. This incompetent failure of future generations has been accompanied with an intense influx of mass migration into an already severed system. Our tourism has sharply declined, while danger on our streets has risen. Ireland, as a master of martial combat, a solution-driven man, you will hear me speak on a problem but once, then it is action towards solution. I urge all our citizens to be of the same. Today, Ireland, I am outside these gates of these appointed officials, but as your head of state, you empower me to enter these buildings on your behalf. A president face to face with government officials with only one priority: to ensure that the country our founding fathers gave their life for is strictly adhered to on behalf of its citizens. Ireland, under my tenure, the will of the people will be heard. Ireland, under my tenure, we will return important articles of our Constitution prior, and thus again aligning with Padraig Pearse's proclamation, in that we declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfettered control of Irish destinies, to be sovereign and indefeasible. Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
It's powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. So he's obviously, yeah, he wants to go for the presidency of that. You said there's we're away. We're probably looking at 2029. Conor McGregor probably running for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a push to get it into the sort of next elections, I think in sort of November time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 2029, that could be a massive year because that's the same year that the UK have their elections as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. This post, as you can see, was reached already 24 million people, but that was obviously, again, reposted by Mr. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So he's got his backing, Elon Musk's backing, and you can see where Musk's sort of values align. He likes the populist, right?
He loves the populist, and he said no one will fight harder for the people of Ireland than Conor McGregor. And it's interesting because obviously Conor does have a history of criminal activities. There was a civil, not criminal, but there was a civil rape case against him that he lost. And also there was the viral picture that went around a couple of months ago.
Or him with his bobby out.
Yes, with his penis.
But you can't get charged for that.
No, you can't get charged.
Right.
You can't. It's not criminal. I want to restate that. No, it's not criminal. right?
No.
But he is sending unsolicited dick pics.
He sent it on to the. Oh, okay, right, yeah. Don't ever do that, troops. Never do that. Never do that.
Otherwise, you might not be able to run for the president of Ireland.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I think, I kind of like what he's all about, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit of I don't know whether his priorities are fully on the Irish presidency or if he's, partying a bit too much. Every time I hear Conor McGregor, he's always up to sort of no good, partying a little bit too hard, maybe.
Yeah.
Getting comfortable with a baking powder and, yeah.
Yeah, and the cocoa. And you know what? I still like the message. And I like rich, businessmen, people who've made it, coming into the politics.
Yeah.
And, running because we know they're uncorruptible, okay? We know they're not going to be lobbied X, Y, and Z to change policy due to money. So I like that fact about him. I like the fact that he's passionate as well. It's just the problem with Conor McGregor is Conor McGregor.
Yeah. It's like almost like a self-sabotage sometimes, isn't he?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
If he was on the straight and narrow, I think as well, after having such an incredible fighting career, we're talking double champ, knocked out Jose Aldo in 7 seconds. The highs of that career must be incredible. And with obviously his retirement as well, he needs another mountain to climb.
He's never going back to fighting, is he?
Exactly.
That was like a thing that he'd been toying with for years, but he's either looking at it, does he join the old misfits influencer boxing or fighting scene, or does he actually go make a real change? And credit to him, he's wanting to make a real change. So depending on how big this podcast gets, I would love to have Conor McGregor on to talk about the state of Ireland and its affairs a little bit later on. That's like one of those dream guests that you could have on for sure. But who knows? Our paths may cross in the future if we get big enough. So subscribe, because that's what we're going to be aiming for, troops. And you guys are like the founding fathers, I suppose, of this podcast. So subscribing, liking, and all this sort of stuff would get us to that area. You got anything more to say on Conor McGregor?
Not on Conor McGregor. I did want to talk about Graham Linehan.
Yeah, so keeping it. I like the theme. We're like transitioning smoothly, into another Irish citizen. Graham Linehan. Yeah, tell us a bit about what Graham Linehan.
Famous comedian. So there has been some leaked audio of the moment that he was arrested and taken off a plane.
Yeah. So I can play that now for you if you want, and we can talk about it. Or do you want to talk about something first? Should we listen to the audio?
Let's have a listen.
It is alleged that on the 19th of April 2025, you published a post on X that was deemed to be intended to stir up hatred, incite violence on the grounds of sexual orientation. What was the post? I'll tell you the post. You sure? You're comedy writer. You idiot. You're under arrest. I'm under arrest. Do you know what this country looks like to America? Do you know what it looks like to America? No, just put me under arrest. Anywhere have you been arrested? I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you all. I dare you. I dare you. I'm going over here so people
Sir, calm down.
I will
Calm down. There's no need for it. There's no need for it. There's no need for it.
I'm
Calm
going
down.
down.
Yeah. Calm down. Calm down.
I dare you. I've been surrounded by trans activists for 8 years. And then you guys are working for them. You I'm infuriated. You scumbags are working for assholes that go into women's toilets. Jesus, so unbelievable. Look at the person coming to you. Please let go. I'm not going to take off. You don't me for standing up for women's rights. Don't cuff me.
Yeah, I think it's shocking. You could actually see the surprise in his voice after the copper says you're under arrest. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I like the bit where he's like, you're under arrest. You're under arrest for the post. And he was like, what post? And the guy's like, I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
It's like,
I can't say that at the moment.
Can't tell you that at the moment. But yeah, that's horrible. That's like full on Stasi police that.
Exactly. And it says as well, the really incriminating part here is that it says, well, the intended harm of your post. Again, they don't need to prove hatred. They don't need to prove harm, and they don't need to prove that there were any victims of the post. If they say that you intended to cause harm, then that is enough to arrest you and drag you off of an aeroplane with 5 armed policemen. You know, and I just find it hilarious how he came to court, actually. I don't know if we've got that video here as well.
Do you have a few words ahead of today's appearance?
These guys are well, I'm never going to say anything.
You've harassed my family, Graham. You've got a lot of victims. You've got a lot of victims harassing my family.
Go away.
So yeah, going down with the doubling down. I like to see when people do that. You know, and I like that.
Really standing on business, right?
Yeah, he's staying on his points, which I like to see. And maybe Angela Rayner could take some points out of that. But obviously his case has already got global attention just because of who he is. But obviously Nigel Farage went out to the US. Did you watch the Congress?
I've seen some of the clips and they are absolutely astonishing. You know, I feel like we have a bad issue with the sort of left-wing politics over here. And God, some of these guys in the US on the left.
Congress Johnson.
He's absolutely nuts, mate. He's wild.
You're holding word for Elon Musk?
It's like Elon Musk has categorically come out and said that Nigel Farage is weak sauce and not enough to run the country. And this guy is saying, oh, well, you want to get a political lobby off of me?
He just kept on over-talking him constantly. Like,
God, it was hard to watch.
Just like constantly he's trying to say something and it's just like there's no manners there. He's just constantly talking over him.
And what was that famous quote that Mr. Johnson had said previously about the islands?
Oh yeah, I think that how he's known for is basically there was an island that I think the US Navy were on there. He said that it could capsize the island if there's too many people on there. So he's not the smartest cookie in the jar. But yeah, it's mad that how he's in like a position there. But so I watched the whole thing and the left-wing Democrats were like almost having him on trial and not actually asking him about certain things. They were like asking about the Reform Party. They were asking about times when Nigel Farage kicked people out of his interviews and suppressing his own free speech. But they had him like trial at some points. It was like, I'm here as a witness for, you know, for the UK's Online Safety Act and the suppression of free speech. I'm not here to like go off tangent and talk about my personal relationship with Donald Trump and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and one of the key points as well is that obviously the Online Safety Act is suppressing the free speech of American companies. That's the key here.
Well, we've seen it in full flow. Graham is a Irish citizen. I'm sure he's a British citizen as well in some way, but he made those posts in Arizona where that is legal, completely legal, First Amendment, all these things, and then he gets lifted. So that's like that was like the global factor of, oh, wait, he's an Irish citizen. You can get lifted if you're an American. Tweeting in America and coming into the UK, you can get hauled off the plane.
Yeah. And he even mentioned how the sort of ramifications of his arrest looks on the global scale. He was like, do you know how bad we look to Americans? Like, as well, like, this is, guys, I love America. I do not want to be part of a country that suppresses your free speech, you know? The absolute forefront of the world. The point of free speech is that you are allowed to say things that offend people. You do not have the right to go through life and not be offended. And, you know, this guy tweeted in America, as you said, yet as soon as he comes back to our land, we sort of lift him.
And for something that was, I know it was regards to trans, but it was like there's humor in his joke. And that's a dangerous road to go down when you're sort of penalizing comedians for offending individuals.
Exactly.
Again, we are sort of running out of time a little bit, so we're going to move on to some developments in France, Dom, that you've got for us.
That's correct, yeah. So France have banned a specific mosque, labeling it as a Muslim training center for promoting armed jihad and radical Islam. So France's Interior Ministry has banned an imam training center over accusations of promoting radical Islam and armed jihad. The Interior Minister announced a ban on the European Institute of Human Science as a training center for Islamic religious teachers, and this is located in the center of France. Now, it was founded by the Muslims of France group, formerly known as the Union of Islamic Organization of France. Again, it has repeatedly come under fire for its associations with extremism and links to the sort of Muslim Brotherhood. I like this because obviously when you're fostering this sort of radical ideology, we know that people who attend these things get radicalized and they go on to commit mass terrorist assaults. We saw the exact same thing in the mosque in Didsbury, and the Manchester bomber who was a part of that mosque being radicalized within that mosque. This is something I'd like to see in the UK, because we know how these sort of very close, tight-knit communities can sort of use their influence on the Muslims Brotherhoods, especially in the UK and obviously in France as well, who have had a lot of terrorist attacks. Talking Charlie Hebdo, we're talking the mass shooting at that sort of rock concert as well, and also like the car assaults as well. That was a big one in Nice.
No, I've seen a lot happen in France. Yeah, it's a cesspit.
Exactly.
It's a shit pit. I'll be there. I'll be in France in a couple of weeks, guys, and I'll be documenting a little bit and reporting back to you on the state of France.
You're gonna bring out your inner Charlie Veach.
I am. I'm gonna be doing it. I haven't got a bodyguard, like I said. I don't know if you got back to your father if he wants a little trip in Paris, but we'll see. No, but I'm looking forward to seeing the difference. I think I can be a real indicator, because I went there in 2017. It's the last time Paris, so it was a bit of a cesspit then, but
yeah,
I'm hearing a lot of bad things now, so it'll be interesting. Moving to the neighbouring country, Germany, we spoke a little bit about the AfD, of course, and you were dumbfounded by the revelations that seen 6 AfD councillors, politicians, that were found dead for various reasons. However, after recording that podcast, there was news of a 7th. A 7th AfD member has died. Now, this is the oldest of the lot. What they're saying is, of course, it's natural causes. This guy apparently was dealing with a long-term sort of illness, and of course has died at the age of 80. But still, it's still really weird. Now the stats become almost impossible when you look at the amount of people that died.
Yep.
From the same party, from the same region, in the same time frame. Even if you correlate their age, it's still like a 0.00007% chance, which is, I suppose if you put that into perspective, it's like Barcelona losing 20-0 to a random women's team.
Yeah, it's a statistical anomaly, to say the least. Now, I will say this guy obviously was 80 years old. Reportedly died of natural causes following a long line of illnesses. Again, AfD's officials maintain there's no evidence of foul play. They cite age and pre-existing conditions among the deceased, but the timing is very interesting. This is obviously preceding local elections, which a lot of these people were either main party members or backup.
One of the reserves. The first 4 were main, then the 2 were reserves, then this guy here. But I suppose a lot of people were saying, well, why is this guy running for a position if he's like battling a long-term illness, so to speak?
Yeah, it is interesting. Again, the ages of all the people that died, they were between sort of 50 and 70, up to 80 years old as this guy. Guys, we need, I don't have an issue with old people getting into politics, because at the end of the day, the more the
everyone's
better.
opinion is
exactly. Again, Trump is like 78, nearly 80 now. Again, I don't have an issue with that, but I think it's true that we do need the younger generation to get their hands muddy and get involved, to avoid things like this. And again, this is our chance to make a difference in this generation. And that's one of the things we want to do as well, is sort of appeal to a wide range of audiences, because we want to make a difference in the sort of direction these things go. But yeah, obviously condolences to him and his family members. I do think this deserves a thorough investigation.
Yeah. I mean, selling becomes almost statistically impossible when you look at the stats. But of course, these phenomenons could happen. And maybe one day we might see Barcelona lose 20-0 to a women's under-17 team. Who knows?
Who knows? I think there's more chance of seeing Keir Starmer stopping the boats.
Man, have you got anything else for today?
That's everything, guys. If you have enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button down below, and as always, subscribe. It's a big week next week, Dan.
Yeah, just got a little note to say that there's going to be no pod on Monday. We both got travel arrangements, of course, heading to the capital, heading to London. But there is some stuff that we are going to be doing in London, of course, ahead of the September 13th. But also we're going to be doing some live streams, all that sorts of stuff. So it might just be a little bit of a buoyant week. However, we will be back in some shape or form next week anyway, ahead of the protest, after the protest, and maybe a few episodes. We'll be on the roaders, so to speak. So we won't be in the studio as such. But we're all looking forward to being there.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously reporting at the protest as well. And obviously we're going to be in London. First time we've gone back since starting the show. So guys, if you do see us, make sure to say hello. And especially at the rally as well. We want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. And obviously back in full swing in terms of our 3-a-week schedule, probably sort of later on in the month. But yeah, it's a big week. Obviously, we want to make sure we do our due diligence and make sure we do fair reporting from the protest as well. And yeah, we're going to be going live and answering your guys' questions, obviously, throughout that day as well. And we're going to be doing a podcast on the Sunday. Is that right?
Yeah, well, there could potentially be a guest. We're just trying to sort of do stuff. We've got someone penciled in, but again, people have their own sort of commitments in life. May go ahead, may not go ahead, but who knows? It'll be an exciting one if we do get the guest on. But you know what? If not, we'll be back on with the show, just me and you. But guys, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.
Peace.